Right, it is 7:05. So I think despite Somali time, we are going to try and run on time. So that's something we're going to try and do today. Thank you so much to absolutely everybody who has joined our live stream today. We're so excited to be presenting the solutions from our very first hackathon. So this is very much a huge milestone for us in Somalis in Tech. Super proud of everybody involved and really excited to present it, see it being presented. It's going to be the first time I see a lot of these solutions as well. My phone has been going off with notifications all evening, so the folks involved have been working, some of them well through the evening to the early hours. So let's get started. Welcome to Somalis in Tech, our first inaugural hackathon. So I'd like to start with who is Somalis in Tech and why are we here? So we're here to empower and support upskilling our community into tech roles, connecting those who are interested in getting into tech and those who already are in tech to a global community of talented Somali techies and giving them the tools and space to collaborate. I don't know how often, even in your own respective industries, that you come across Somalis and you catch each other, and it's a very rare moment, but we want to make that a bit more accessible and intentional, and that's what we're here for, to provide that space for Somalis to connect with one another, those from the diaspora, those from back home, and have that safe space in which we can all connect and learn from one another. So yeah, and that includes growing, and that includes especially those who are a part of who is just starting up with their startups, as well as maybe they have an idea but have no idea how to execute, or need some advice, or kind of want to find someone who has similar experience to them on that journey already. So we want to be the hub in terms of all that connection and bringing people together, most importantly. That begs the question, why do we need the space to do that? Well, like I said, it's very rare that we come across one another in the community in our own industries. So we want to help tackle diversity in tech. Diversity in tech is a major issue. It's even if you see other people who may look like you, it doesn't always mean that the issue is resolved. So we want to actually be a space that's dedicated. It's run by people who are from diverse backgrounds in terms of, I mean, we're all Somalis, that's so far the part of the team, so I don't know how diverse that is, but you come and get what you get, right? And I like to think we're quite a special space as well. We want to build something that's where people can respect one another, and we all understand where each other's coming from, and we're really excited to kind of bring that especially when it comes to how we represent ourselves within the tech industry, whether tech companies approach us and maybe ask us a bit more about diversity and what can we learn from you guys that you need to see from the industry too. We're happy to be that kind of spokesperson for you to the rest of the industry. And we also are really keen to address humanitarian and economic problems in Somali territories and communities through tech solutions in both the situations back home and in the diaspora. As you know, a lot of us want to give back to home or our communities in general and have no idea where to start. And there's so many people working on amazing projects, but just don't have the audience or the network to tap into. So we want to grow and build that network in which we can give each other opportunities, learn about opportunities, and kind of, if you want to give back, then you know exactly where to do that, and we want to basically surface those. And how do we plan to do that? So we plan to have a mentorship program where we want, for example, we want to mentor both people who are coming into the industry and maybe match them with someone who's already in the industry. Those who are already in the industry, if you're thinking about your career and how you want to develop, we want to match you with someone who's already on that journey, on that path. Entrepreneurs who are just starting out, possibly match you up with entrepreneurs who have been about, and entrepreneurs who have been here for a while or looking for an audience or test ideas and anything that you're thinking about launching. We want to have and present any new ideas that you've got going on. We want to have an honest community. We also are going to be hosting hackathons, which we've just completed our first one. So it's amazing to have that ticked off the list. And we want to have hackathons centering around solving problems within the community, more community-led events. So this looks like in the form of panel discussions, workshops, informal networking, which we've actually already done a couple of now, which have been amazing. Just getting people together and listening to one another has already been such an incredible experience, and we hope to continue doing that. Partnerships. So we want to establish relationships with tech companies to leverage recruitment opportunities. Often recruitment can be quite narrow, and it could be anywhere down to how they worded an opportunity. Does it sound like something that's suitable for you? Or it could be where they put it. Is it the most entirely appropriate place for you to find it? So we want to educate existing tech companies, or even tech companies who are on the rise, on how to make their recruitment pool a bit more diverse, and that's by getting connected with more and more communities like ours. Incredible would your network be if it became a global network, just from the fact that the community is it's telling me my internet's unstable. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can, yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, we absolutely want to bring that global network into one space. So we want to provide you with a global network. We want people to collaborate no matter where they are in the globe. It could be in the Middle East, it could be in the Americas, it could be back in Africa, it could be in Australia. We want people to basically all be in this small little hub where they're all connected with one another. And look at the wonderful Somalis in Tech team. These are the folks that make Somalis in Tech happen at the moment. Super, super happy and proud of this team. And it's incredible, some of the work that we've already been able to do. And these are all friendly faces, and absolutely everybody is from different skill sets, different parts of tech. And some maybe not even in tech. So that is a great opportunity to just kind of understand everyone's journeys and how do they get to where they are. And I'm honestly so proud just even looking at this, the kind of team we've been able to build, and that makes Somalis in Tech happen. So you'll find out after the live stream a bit more about the launch of our Slack community, in which most of the people will be available to connect with you and talk with you a bit more one-to-one on what they do, and if there's anything that we could do to help. So why are we doing a hackathon? Hackathons, for those who don't know what hackathon is effectively when you bring people together and you have a problem and you have a dedicated amount of time to come up with a solution to fix it. And it doesn't always mean building an entire solution, but the fact that you have the dedicated time to come up with an idea and try to execute it as best as possible within the time given. But why do we do hackathons? The sole purpose of us doing hackathons is for people to just connect with one another and to have fun and effectively just build great things. We're not so much focused on having the perfect solution that's going to be built within a weekend, because I think that's a lot of pressure to put on anyone. But we just want people to have fun, and just like what a way to get to know each other than people figuring out how they are during challenges and how they collaborate with one another when they may have never met, or their paths may have never crossed in any other situation. So we are really happy and really proud to be in a position where we can bring all these people together, and I'm so excited to see the wicked work that they've managed to do. These people, the folks involved, may have never ever met. Some of them may have never spoken to each other, but the fact that they have some kind of solution to present to us today is the beauty of the hackathon that we've put together. So yeah, I believe Adam's going to be going through the hackathon and the problem statement that we put out there, just to explain you a little bit about what the teams have been working on.
Cool. Thank you, Faiza. So as Faiza said, I'm going to briefly touch on the problem statement for this year's hackathon. I think we're all aware of COVID-19 and the issues that it's had within our community. I'm not going to kind of go through that in too much detail, but I'm going to just briefly touch on how it's impacted our community. So Faith, can you go to the next slide, please? So what we're going to talk about is, what is the issue? Where should we focus our efforts to building a solution? Next slide, please. So as I said, it's unless you've been living under a rock, as we're living in a pandemic, death tolls are increasing globally, increasing on a daily number. This was just from yesterday, the number of cases and the death toll. Next slide, please. So our community are disproportionately impacted and most at risk. So from a diaspora perspective, Somalis in the diaspora suffer from pre-existing underlying health issues such as diabetes and high blood pressure. We often live in overcrowded, multi-generational, low-income areas, and we're also tend to work on frontline jobs which are vulnerable to the virus. As you can see, this article is written in my local borough about how the pandemic has impacted us and our community. Of course, these issues are also applicable to other BAME communities as well. Back home, so the risk that back home is the fragility in our healthcare system. So there are only 15 ICU beds to a population of more than 15 million. That means a rapid spread of the disease could lead to a massive increase in the death toll back home. Next slide, please. So where should we focus our efforts? Of course, it would be great if we could build a tech solution that creates a vaccine for COVID-19, but I think at the moment that's a far off dream. So we're hoping through this hackathon that we're able to help kind of the indirect problems associated with coronavirus. So improving awareness on the ways to stop the spread of the virus spreading, improve patient care and assist in diagnosis, and to assist in any way that your team sees fit. Next slide, please. So yeah, I whizzed through that quite quickly. So yeah, so I'll just give it back to Faisal. You're on mute, Faisal.
Oh my God, I love talking to myself. That is just what I do every single time. So yeah, amazing. Thanks so much for going through that, Adam. So yeah, so glad that we're running on time so far. Fingers crossed that we remain to be. It's time to get the show on the road. Before we do that, I'd like to start by saying thank you to everybody who's involved in the hackathon. We really appreciate the hours and the energy and the vibes that you brought towards this. It's been incredible just to even be witness to that. I'd like to also thank the team leaders who have been in plans with us for the past 2 or so weeks. Your dedication of time and just committing yourself to leading these folks. Not all the team leaders could make it even today, but they'd put all the hard work into making sure that their team was well set up. I'd love to also welcome Dr. Samira, Hassan and Mohamed Ainab, who is joining us and being our experts in terms of from both the medical and tech perspective and providing some feedback for each presentation that we get today. So, and I'd also like to mention that you, the audience, you actually get to vote on your favorite solution, and through that we will definitely discover who the favorite is. I'm very hesitant to say winner, but because I'm sure everyone's going to have really great ideas, but there will be a favorite. So we'll definitely let's see how that goes, and there'll be more information on how you can vote. And there may be some opportunity, if time given, to also take some questions from the audience. So if you do have any question, feel free to put it in the chat. And if we can get to it, we definitely will ask the teams. But without further ado, I'd love to start with Team 1. Team 1, are you ready to present?
Yeah. Can you guys...
I'll stop sharing.
Everyone, it's very nice to see all your faces. We are going to get some rest, I promise you. So, you know, almost at the end there, so don't worry. Cool. Okay, so we are Team 1. We spent a long time thinking about what to call our team. and then very quickly discovered that not a single one of us has any creativity whatsoever. So we were just like, we'll just stick with team one, and then, you know. So yeah, with team one, we are. Let me present. Let me share my screen. Cool. So this is us. Can you guys see that? Brilliant, cool. Okay, so this is us. We put those kind of fluffy animals there to make you feel good, so that you can vote for us. So, and you know, very warm and friendly colors. So yeah, we are Letify, a name that we came up with very, very, very recently, and that's because we were busy doing all the really clever stuff that we didn't have any time to do naming. So yeah, this is our team. Let me present. This is our team. This is us with all of our hands up. We're all having a great time. So essentially, this team was I only knew of Halima because we'd sort of talked about tech before, but like it was like completely new for a lot of us. But some of the people in the team like knew each other, and I think kind of as expected with Somalis, you're always kind of just like one person removed from that. It was interesting because we were all kind of coming at it from a completely different perspective, and there was a lot of like learning to be done, I think. Is that me? Is that me? That is me. Okay, cool. Yeah, so anyhow, let me introduce you to the team. So essentially we were mostly some people were interested in business, some people were interested in like front end stuff, some people were interested in back end stuff. In the end, what we decided to do was like to kind of pair up and to kind of like mix up the pairs so that we can like work and sort of get different experiences, different things. And some of us stayed up till very late last night. So hopefully you'll like what we are working on. I will hand it over to Ilyas.
So before we get started on explaining what our product is, we're going to give you a little situation. So this right here is Adam. Adam is a 65-year-old Somali man that lives in the UK. He's been living there for about 10 years. Letters, that's not a message for me. Okay, cool. Letters have been sent to Adam's house continuously, but Adam doesn't necessarily understand English, right? So over time, Adam just, tosses every letter. He's like, oh, he doesn't understand what it is, throws it out, throws it out. And now, due to the pandemic, Adam's at risk because he doesn't necessarily know any underlying conditions that he has. So he's literally one of the high risk, people from suffering from COVID-19. Then we go to another situation. This is Halima. Halima is a 32-year-old woman that lives in the UK as well. If you go to the next slide, Halima started feeling unwell, right? So she wanted to check herself out. So she got herself tested, right, for COVID-19. Her results came back, same thing. Letter communication has been sent to her house so that she can stay home and not spread the virus. But, she went out, talked to her friends. Literally, this is a very real problem that happened, I guess, in the Somali community, especially where people got COVID-19 and went outside and started mingling and started talking to people, had a good makabi, right, kind of situation. So now these two people are not necessarily alone, right? If we go to our market research, if we look into the UK specifically, we have about 1.3% of the population that doesn't necessarily understand English that well. And we have literally 0.3% of the population that doesn't speak English at all. These numbers sound small, but if you look at the total population of the UK, which is what, 66 million people, that's a lot of people. That's like what, 600,000 people that don't know how to read, nor we have another 1% of the population that doesn't know how to write at all, right? And the average reading level of the UK in general is reading, if you go to a random person, their reading level would be about 9 years old reading level, right? And that's just the general white population, right? And if we look at the new immigrant population or people that have come to the UK at a late age that don't necessarily understand English, you can only expect so much on the level of communication. So now, what are the solutions for these people, right? So the solutions, if you go back one slide actually, would be, either using translation agencies, which are very, very pricey. Like I was looking at one and it was charging so it was 9 pence per word, right? So if a document has like 700 words, they're paying quite a bit of change to get that document translated. And especially the responsibility of understanding the document, especially when it comes to medical documents, is put on the end user, right? There's also translation softwares which are a bit cheaper, but they're not necessarily as accurate. So what happens is they translate every single word, like kind of like Google Translate. But the problem with that is there's no context, right? So in the English language, like you could say like, what are you saying, right? Which can mean what are you saying, but it could also mean what are you saying as in what's up, right? But there's a lot of words and sentences and things that can be put in one way, but also can be put into another way. So they are not necessarily accurate enough for medical information. If you go to the next slide. So I guess someone else is gonna,
Hello.
I think it's, Philson's gonna go over our solution.
Yeah, hi guys. So we decided to, so our solution was to create a product where admin staff and hospital people would be able to pick up a template, fill in the details of the patient and send out the forms directly. We thought that this would be a good way of sort of streamlining the, how do I say it? Streamlining the document translation, instead of taking it, printing out the paper, going to find a translator and then coming back to send it to the person. We sort of got rid of one step. As far as the UI goes, I wanted to sort of make the interface something clear. So as far as the design goes, we went with a mobile first approach. We wanted the design to be quite clear and concise. So busy admin people, busy receptionists would be able to click on a card and just do everything through a pop-out in one step. Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of to add to that, I think the idea is that that you would have a hospital. The idea is that a hospital sends the same 12 letters like to most people, right? It's just that they're changing details. So if it's an appointment letter, if it's a referral letter, if it's whatever letter, it's always the same thing. So the idea is that you've got those templates in place that once you've got the template, they can just click on a patient they want to send it to and it gets sent to them in their language at home. Yeah. Ahmed?
Yep, it's demo time. Hey, can I share my screen? Yeah, I think. Cool. Cool. Wait. Yes, there we go. Can you see that, or can you see the? Might be the wrong screen. Oh, you can see the Create React app, right?
No, we're looking at your Chrome browser.
Yeah. Zoom. There we go. Yeah, I think we're looking at. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Cool. We're good. Live. So so my name is Ahmed. So we sort of created a little platform where basically the flow of the clients, the people, the admins, they would sign in, do their thing, and then they'll be met by this dashboard. where they will have a list of templates, right? So they will have their list of templates that they normally send out to their respective, I don't know, the people that they work for, right? So so let's say this is like an Ainab appointment that they send out every week. They sort of select the appointment, and then we sort of generate a list of users that we can sort of select whichever one they want to send it to, and then they would literally just click send, and then they could because we already know what language they speak and what their preferred language is, we can sort of infer and show them what language they want, right? So we've got English on the left, and then we've got Somali on the right, and then that would so what we would create is we would create like a template, right, which is translated, and then that template could be reused and everything, and then it would just be the case of them reviewing it and making sure everything looks good, and then just clicking send, which then we would then take the step of actually sending it out, and that would get shipped and sent to the patients. So it would streamline the entire process of trying to communicate with people that don't understand, if that makes sense. So yep, so let's jump onto stop sharing. Cool.
Abdurrahman, you're not on mic.
I think this is me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, apologies.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just going to quickly talk about what comes next. So the idea is to digitize what is going on. So instead of just physical letters, we can go to email, SMS, hit up things like WhatsApp and other social media. There's email forwarding that we can consider, expand to other industries, increase data portability, anywhere where translation service is needed. And then we can also have a translator portal where legal translators can provide their services and provide these templates. So instead of having to rely on like Google Translate or whatnot. And then for accessibility, we can have a QR code in future, play voice to text in the native language so that people are also able to hear if they're unable to, in addition to providing the written text.
Cool. Yeah, so that's us. Thank you so much for listening to us. It's all the code that we put up. It's on GitHub. If you want to kind of like get involved and say like you think of a really cool feature that you'd like to add to it, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to be a part of Team One. But yeah, look forward to seeing all your projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Team One. What a brilliant idea. You're already getting so much praise from the chat. So please accept those compliments. And it already looks like so much work that has gone into that. And just being able to put all that together in the short time you had, well done. I'm going to quickly hand it over to our two panelists, just to get your respective opinions and just thoughts on Team One's idea. So let me start with Dr. Samira. So what do you think, just from a medical perspective, how can you see this making an impact? How do you think this will help for yourself and your colleagues in the field?
Sure. First of all, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm really honored and happy to be with all of you guys. I think anybody that knows me personally knows that I am highly technically challenged. So I was excited to be part of this because we all know the NHS, as wonderful as it is, has a lot of gaps and holes. And I think these kind of hackathons and ideas and solutions go a long way in making healthcare easier for everybody involved, most of all our community. So I just want to start out by giving you guys all a shout out, mashallah. The first team, mashallah, I really enjoyed listening, first of all, to your presentation. I think your solution, even though I'm still baffled at the fact that you came up with this in the last 48 hours, but nevertheless, just even listening to your presentation, I started thinking about ways I could incorporate this into my daily practice. So I'm a GP that works in the NHS. And of course, we come across patients on a daily basis, COVID being the #1 topic everybody's thinking about, worried about, and presenting with symptoms about. And I think the most important thing is getting that information across, as you rightly mentioned. And how do you manage to do that quickly and effectively within 10 minutes and managing to make sure that everybody understands in a way that's easily accessible to them and in their language is, of course, extremely key. So I really like the way you presented, mashallah, with the case studies, because you're right, those are very common case studies and common presentations. And I really liked the simplicity of the solution. But I can tell you one thing for sure. So one of the things we use in GP land is the computer systems. A common example is System 1. I don't know if you guys heard of it. We have Vision, we have EMIS, and every step of the patient consultation, examination, collecting information, and also dishing out treatment requires very precise key communication. And you can imagine that being done in 10 minutes. So I can already see multiple ways that we can use this particular solution, because it's an easy way to immediately and automatically generate key information and already produce templates. And not only will people be able to understand this information by either reading it or getting somebody in their household to translate it for them, for those who are illiterate, or using the voice to text app, but also people can easily get used to the style of the template. So even if they don't understand the language or be able to read the language that much, they'll be able to understand just by looking at the layout that they got used to. If we continue to use it with time, they'll be able to understand what it implies at least, and then they'll be able to place the relevant importance to getting it seen. And I think that's really important in the NHS. We really do suck at making sure accessible information is available for different community members. And of course, the Somali community is no different. And particularly with those in the older generation, you know, the ones we're trying to target to make sure that they get the information across to them, are not people like me and you. They're people whose first language is either Somali, basically not English, or those in the older generation where previous traditional health beliefs is sometimes hampering the current scientific evidence, and those obviously who don't speak English, being able to produce a system where they're able to communicate more effectively, get the information more effectively, will not only help them in their health condition, but will also build the very fragile and broken trust between the elderly Somali generation and the NHS. So I genuinely think that as it is, the solution will be of huge benefit now. And I'm sure there's a lot more scope to develop in terms of sending text messages through the system immediately for patient appointments, patient templates, appointment templates, blood test templates, referral letters. I can already see a massive scope for this. So well done, guys. I think I'll try and keep it brief and leave it at that. But congratulations, well done.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samira, for your perspective, and really, I think that was really great feedback for Team 1. Thank you. And would love to hand it over to Mohamed Ainab. What are your thoughts?
Thanks, guys, and thanks for having me. I really kind of like was looking forward to actually be part of this hackathon as, you know, as an engineer, as a programmer, and be part of, you know, the solution and coming up with those solutions. However, due to time, I wasn't able to do that, but I'm glad I'm be able to join you today as well, so that I can actually provide my thoughts regarding on the solutions that the teams are going to present. Going back to the solution, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a TB, or I have no clue when it comes to you know, to the other side, and except the technology. However, one thing that I know is that I'm kind of like, in a way, but of that old generation who English is not their first language, but somehow due to, you know, tenacity, kind of learn the language and, you know, kind of like understand in a way, not like, you know, compared to native speakers like you guys. And I also have, I mean, my mom lives here. She doesn't speak English. She doesn't understand the language, and getting a letter that is in a Somali language will really be beneficial to her. So having the solutions that you guys provide are really amazing. Having a template when it comes to kind of like you know, a normal TB appointment, when it comes to even, you know, the COVID test or anything related to a doctor, whether it's appointment or a follow-up or everything, that will help her and other Somali community around the world, not just specifically in the UK. I think this problem that you guys trying to solve is around the world, wherever a Somali community are currently living, whether it's in America, in Sweden, or anywhere. So it's just going to be a technology that can easily be integrated to within the NHS system and through the ABI integration or through some other integration, so that there will be kind of like, for example, integration points where NHS will directly consume this system, and that could actually be, you know, applied around the world, and in USA, in Canada, and so on. So building that system where translation and templates have been will help our society, will help Somali community overall. And as Samira said, the solution really is amazing. The technical part is really looks great, well built, and the dashboard where you can actually have different set of templates where you can actually follow up with patients and so on. That is something that in the future can be grown and kind of like add more functionality around that specific dashboard.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Mohamed. Really appreciate your very professional opinion and perspective on what Team One have created. Team One, I hope you're really happy with the comments. The chat is going crazy with questions, and as much as we'd love to take questions from audience, I think something that we might do is gather the questions and maybe send it to you, or possibly just get you to record your answers to post onto Twitter and stuff. I'm sure people really want to know the thought process that went behind your solution. Big well done, big well done, and thank you so much for the incredible work that you put into that. We are going to move very swiftly on to Team Two. One thing I should have mentioned is that we are on a strict 10 minutes presentation time. Team One did quite well. I think it was a little bit over, so let's keep that going. Team Two, are you ready to go?
We're ready.
Amazing. You might hear a ding 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 just to give you a 2-minute warning. I'm aware we didn't do that before, but we will start doing that from now. All right, thanks. Over to you.
Okay. So we wanted to solve a problem in the diaspora. We figured that the diaspora is being hit harder by it, and that we wanted to focus in on that. I'm going to let Rhoda, my teammate, start with the presentation, and then I'll pick up on the second half.
Okay. Do you want to share the screen? Do you have it up?
Sure, I'll share the screen.
I'll just start with the first slide. Okay, so as has been widely reported, the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately affected, the Somali community in such a huge way. And Somalis with COVID, they struggle to really communicate their conditions to the doctor and the nurses. And so we came up with a tech solution that can help overcome this hopefully in the future. And so what exactly is Hadal and why is it so important? So Hadal is a form of augmentative and alternative communication. And this essentially just involves the use of any alternative method of communication when oral communication cannot be achieved. And patients in intensive care units, they may become non-verbal for many reasons, and this can include reasons such as intubation, mechanical ventilation, or they might not just be able to speak or understand any English, which is the case for most elderly Somali patients. And so the aim of Hadal really is to improve patient outcomes by allowing them to communicate more clearly with nurses and doctors, etc. And one of my team members was able to get a testimony from a Somali uncle who experienced COVID-19 during the first wave. And to summarize, he basically just said that they had to put him to sleep in order to save him. And after he woke up in a different hospital and in the intensive care unit. And so I just want everyone to imagine themselves in this situation for a moment. You're an elderly Somali patient with COVID-19. You can't speak any English. You don't have any family members around you that will normally, advocate for your health and ask all the necessary questions. So just, imagine the fear, the anxiety, the confusion. It's really overwhelming when you think about it. And next slide. Thank you. And so, studies have found that this inability to communicate can actually lead to poorer patient outcomes. For instance, medical errors, unnecessary pain, confusion about medication, etc. And so, it's really important that we have something like this in place to give patients the confidence to express their wants and their needs and sort of relay their feelings to their medical team. And we really believe that Hadal, can play an important role in helping the Somali COVID-19 patients. in doing so. And the need for this is heightened also by the fact that, as I mentioned, the patients in the intensive care units, they don't have any loved ones around them that would normally help them out with communication and whatnot. And yeah, going to the next slide, please.
So some market research on this. We did a lot of medical research trying to understand Somalis and how they use augmentative communication screens. The medical research pretty much concluded you can't compare Somalis to other Africans. They're just that different. You just can't. And they like vocal communication more than anything. So Somalis have different literacy abilities, different types of Somali that they speak from different regions. And what seems to be the gold case for getting somebody to use an augmentative communication system, if they're Somali, is to allow the system to speak for them in Somali. So that's the market research we did. Somalis like it when they talk to them. That is the gold standard for them. So what we were trying to build during this hackathon is augmentative communication screens focusing on really a few key points. One is assessing pain in the hospital. When you're intubated and you have a breathing tube or you're unable to speak the language, it's very difficult to get a translator or to accurately speak on what's going on, especially when it comes to assessing pain. If you can't assess pain in the ICU, you're gonna have a very bad experience. And if you guys can imagine how busy the hospitals are these days and how frustrated the nurses are, getting a translator on the line for 11 minutes is not an easy thing. And not all translators, as we've learned, are the best. So we wanted to create a couple of these screens to make it available. And we wanted it to be available as many platforms as possible. So it was our goal to have it on iOS, Android, and web, all within a weekend as well. So the technical stack we chose to use to implement this is this new framework called Flutter and Dart. It's really nice because you get to write your code in one language and it works natively across all of them. Our next steps that we're hoping for is to get it out on all major platforms. So we've submitted to iOS, Android, and we're kind of going through the review process now. And that's our next steps. So demo time. Let me know if you guys can see when it transfers over to the next screen. Are you guys able to see this correctly?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is our version 1. You start on a home screen. And remember, this is to communicate the patient, their pain level, etc. So I'm going to show you guys the pain screen first. We have the classical, pain level screen where a patient can select the magnitude of their pain. Notice that the labels are written in English, but listen to what happens when I click on it. I'm going to put my volume up. So what it does is it speaks the labels in Somali, and medical literature says this is the best way to teach Somalis how to use augmentative communication screen. And we also have pain position. So not only can we magnify how much pain there is, we can pinpoint where the pain is. Is it on the head? Is it throat? Is it the knee? Is it the eyes? We can pinpoint it as well. We also have some very basic needs and wants that can be answered. And of course, my personal favorite, right? If you have a very stressed out Somali in the hospital, there's only 2 ways to calm them, right? So for entertainment, we have some BBC One radio. So hopefully you guys can hear that. And this application comes in all major platforms. So this is the iOS version that we're seeing right here. And there's also a web companion of it. So here's the web companion of the same exact application. It's going to stop soon. So I think we still have enough time, so I'm going to touch base on a little bit more. This concept of augmented communication is a well-studied one. It's studied by speech-language pathologists who help people regain their ability to talk, right? There's a lot of people who lose their ability to talk, and someone who doesn't know how to speak the language and communicate with medical personnel is in the same exact position as somebody who has a breathing tube in. They're unable to communicate what their condition is and to be an advocate for themselves. Secondly, they're without their loved ones and they don't have their advocates near them because of COVID, right? You can't go to the hospital with your family. So we need to provide a way that's easily accessible, where hospital staff don't have to be on a phone for 11 minutes to be able to ask these questions, that works across as many platforms as possible, where if they can download it. If they can't, they can go to a URL. And it needs to be localized. That's the most important thing. This population is kind of just being left behind. You know, just imagine all the elderly people stuck in the hospitals, unable to ask for even the most basic stuff like, I need a cup of water, my chest hurts, my pain is a 9. They can't do stuff like that. And if you can't do stuff like that, you're in a position where a lot of bad things can happen. You can't advocate for yourself. So our goal is to focus on that, is to help people communicate better and be their own best advocates. Right now, it's a very simple program. You can see that it doesn't have a lot of dynamic functionality. You can't input like an emergency contact. You can't really change the styling and all that. But it's our hope to continue adding on to that and making it better. Okay, that's it.
Wow, just wow. Like, we've really started off really strong. Like, well done, absolutely everyone, and well done Team 2 for that incredible solution that you've just presented and explained it so well, and it's great. So if you don't mind, panelists, I'm going to actually alternate between the two of you. So maybe for this one, Dr. Samira will take it, and then for the next team, Mohamed, if that's okay, that you take their one for feedback. I'm sure both of you really want to provide your input, and I actually really do welcome you contacting the team, and I'm sure actually if you give the Somalis and Tech team your feedback for each of them, we're happy to absolutely pass that on to them. So yeah, for the interest in time, Dr. Samira, do you want to take this one?
For sure. I am glad I'm taking this one as well. This, I think, mashallah, I'm really amazed with not just the simplicity of the idea. I think it shows that you went back several steps and you really thought about what actually matters to the patients in ICU. But what you've just suggested is not just a solution that would work in ICU. It would work in the operating theater just before they go into anesthesia. It would work in outpatient clinics. It would work in community hospitals and health centers. Probably not so much in the GP land because we clearly don't have time or the patients, but it would work across almost every health setting, mashallah. I totally agree with the fact that as Somalis, we are a nation of oral speakers. It's all about the sound effects, the onomatopoeias, the phrases, the metaphors, the mahmas. Our method of communication is almost primarily oral. And I think the best way most of the Somali elderly people can get their level of pain across is by describing it to some level, like waran ba iga taagan ama seef ba laygu jaraya, or you know what we're like. So I think streamlining it in a way where you can numerically identify their level of pain so that you can understand, markuu qof leeyahay seef ba igu taagan, is that a 9 out of 10? Is that a 2 out of 10? Is that a 25 out of 10? Is a really important way for us health clinicians to be able to understand what that pain means in context to you, because everything is in context. And you're right, research does prove that being able to communicate not only improves health outcomes in the most obvious ways, it reduces frustrations, it reduces dissatisfaction with the service, it reduces the level of loneliness and sometimes anger and mistrust that builds up because they're unable to explain themselves really well and they feel like the system is not serving them. And more so now during COVID-19 than ever before, when people are not allowed to visit their loved ones. And sometimes in the past, the wards would allow the son or the child or somebody to accompany them at all times, but now that's near impossible. I think such an app and a solution has come at such an opportune time, and it's much needed more than ever before. You're right as well with regards to the different dialects. I am, I think, a really good Somali speaker, in my opinion. And even then I struggle with a lot of the different Somali dialects from the north and the south, because sometimes there are several Somali words I've come across for the first time during my consultations. It would really help if there was an app that would even translate it for me as a Somali doctor. So that's an amazing thing. And the fact that this app speaks to you will shock a lot of our old elderly Somali women and men, but I think it will be a welcome surprise for sure. But they would love it for sure. And the fact that you're able to break it down systematically, usually I find Somalis in their way of thinking, especially the elderly generation, when it comes to something as huge as health, it's very chaotic. You almost have to stop them dead in their tracks and start systematically asking them questions to be able to understand what they mean as a whole, because oftentimes they go off in tangents. So an app where you're able to start off by talking about, is it pain? Yes. What's the level of pain? That number out of 10, where exactly? And then carry on to describe for them would improve communication between the health clinician and the patient. And the fact that it's across all different platforms and is accessible for different settings, I think is only an amazing thing. I love the points where the number 10 out of 10 is ilahayo wandemanaya, because I think that hits the nail on the head. And the entertainment, that familiar BBC Somali sound, and the other option being Quran, wallah, you can't go wrong with that, mashallah. I think all in all, 10 out of 10, I absolutely enjoyed this presentation. I think it's a wonderful solution. Like one of my colleagues mentioned, I'm happy to discuss this further with you guys to really take it to the NHS. And I think beyond this hackathon, your solutions have a major place, not only in our healthcare system across all settings, like I mentioned, but also in Somalia and Somaliland and, you know, all our Somali speaking regions across the world. So yeah, definitely enjoyed this presentation. Well done, guys. Congratulations.
100%. You know, I'm so glad we don't have judges, because this would be so difficult if it was up to a handful of people. So good thing that responsibility is being put on the audience today. So moving swiftly, amazing comments, by the way, amazing comments. Great job. Moving swiftly on to team 3. Team 3, you got 10 minutes. You ready?
Yes. I think Abdulrazak is going to share the slides and then we'll get started.
Yep, sharing now, a couple of moments, desktop one. Beautiful. We are seeing slides.
So yeah, the name of our company, or like our app, we decided to go for Warki Corona. So our logo is keeping the community informed. And then our next slide just shows, I think there's another, sorry. Next slide, I think. Sorry.
No.
Is it okay if I just share my screen? I think it'll be easier. I'll do that.
Yep, let me just jump off it. We can do it this way. Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Cool, yeah. Sorry. So the next slide just shows our team members. So there's me, Mohamed. He wasn't able to join us today, but he helped us out a lot with like the back end of the project. Abdurrahman and me were focusing on like the front end side of it. Aisha, she focused on the design and like market research. And Abdulrazak also helped out with the back end part of the app. Okay. So yeah, so we have our problem. So here's like the main 3 things, but in terms of stats, we found out there's, I think recorded that there's 108,000 Somalis living in the UK, but that doesn't account for like Somali immigrants with settled status. Also, together the Somali community are facing significant challenges, from risk factors for susceptibility to COVID-19 to issues accessing critical information due to language barriers. And also the older Somalis and parents mostly speak Somali with minimal English skills, as it's not commonly used in the Somali community. So there's that too. And then this will often lead to misinformation because of a lack of updated like information publicly available in the Somali language. So yeah, here are the 3 like bullet points. So frequent changes to government guidelines, groups spreading misinformation. This could be through, as we all know, WhatsApp. And also delay in receiving government updates. So the next slide talks about our market research. So I'll be giving it to Aisha.
Hi. So for our market research, we just wanted to get a quick idea on what the general population thought about the idea of what we would do. So we sent out a survey to understand the interest in the community regarding COVID-19 updates. So we had quite a quick response. So we didn't think we were going to get this many, but we've got over 20 responses over different age groups. So it's quite nice to see that we still do hear the opinions of people in the older generation. So we asked a couple of different questions. So we asked, do you think there's a poor communication from the government and why? So there were a few different views. A lot of people did say that they don't watch the news or they don't know where to find it, and that there's a lack of trust of sources and vague language, making it hard to understand what the government really want them to do. And everything's kind of centered around topics that might not be of interest to us. So we might want to get ideas of something else, but because it's not on, for example, BBC News, we might have to go and search out elsewhere, which makes it quite difficult. So we also looked at other points. So we looked at where do people normally hear their government guidelines from. So majority of the people did say they hear it from reliable news outlets, such as the BBC News, and that, you know, people can also hear from social media, friends or family, which is what we're trying to not encourage people to do during a pandemic, such as COVID-19. We also looked at how important it was for them to follow government guidelines. Majority of the people said it's important. I think one person said it's not important. And whether they'd be interested in an app for them to understand the government guidelines in Somali. So pretty much everyone except for I think 3 people said that yes. And it's kind of nice to see that people in their 19 to 29 age group are also interested in this, and that not only the older generation would benefit from this. So next slide, yep. So we asked what feature they'd like to see in the app if we did create it. So majority of the people said that they'd like quick updates, notifications on the guidelines, simple translations, and also an interesting one was for it to be kind of audio focused. So those particularly who have visual impairments or those who find it quite difficult to read and prefer to hear updates rather than looking out for it in text form. So because of that, we kind of prioritize our needs for the app because we would be able to do everything they wanted. So we designed our apps on Figma, which is on the next slide. Yeah. So on Figma, we kind of created different screen types. So on the left, that would be the initial screen they'd open, which would kind of be like cards for different announcements. And these cards are usually grouped into different categories. So for example, education, water, local news, so on. And they'd have the option to read it in English or Somali, so whichever one they'd like. And they'd also be able to have notifications. So the notifications would work in a way they'd be subscribed to certain areas of interest. So for example, if they only wanted government updates on education, that's what they'd hear from the that's what they'd be notified from the app. So following from that, we created the app. So I think Hassan did the live demo.
Yes, and so before the demo, just a little bit about the solution. So what we were doing and what the app is currently doing is we had a backend that would go and fetch the information. The latest, we wanted to try and focus as much as possible on official information. So we were only pulling from the gov.uk website. And then we would use with with the announcements and with the latest news that we were getting in terms of policy changes or any announcements that they had related to COVID or related to subjects that our users potentially would be interested in. We would then get that translated for them. And then we would store this data and the users would be able to then query it from the client that we provided. And then we would be displaying said information, and we would also be notifying users with this and of this information updates. And so the solution and what we opted for after was a mobile application. We did contemplate at the beginning maybe going for a web application potentially, but what we identified was maybe that our target audience was more towards like the older generations of ours, and people are a lot more, there's a significantly larger like maybe smartphone uptake nowadays. And so the hope is that via smartphones, rather than expecting the users to go onto the website and themselves check for the information, they'd be able to be notified directly onto their phones. We contemplate maybe using an SMS message service to actually send it also. That would probably cost us slightly more. So in essence, we opted and elected to go for just a mobile client. And so from the front, the mobile client, the tech stack that we were, as a team, significantly more confident using, or we were happier to all use JavaScript. And so we used a variety of different JavaScript runtimes and JavaScript related tools. And so we used React Native as the mobile client. So as our mobile application client, because we could using one code base, deploy it both to an iOS devices and Android devices. And then on the back end, we used Node and we used MongoDB as our database. And then as a team, we wanted to use agile methodology. And so we used project management tools, and these were Trello, Miro. And then our market research, we sent out forms to try and gather some information about whether our solution was going to be useful. And so in terms of future features and what ideas we have going forward, we would like to, before we get to future features, actually, the demo, I forgot about it entirely, apologies. So here it is in all its glory, running on the app. It's a iOS, this is currently running on an iPhone simulator. And so here what we have is the application. So here's the home screen. You scroll down, you get a list of the latest articles by dated, letting you know when they came in. And then what you can do is once you see an article of interest, you click through and that will pull up the article for you. And there you go. And you'd be able to read through said article, and you have the option to switch between the languages. So if you prefer English and more comfortable, you're more than welcome to read it in that. And the same for the home screen. The home screen is also translated, and so you can read it in both languages. So yes, and so we can go back. So future features, we're hoping to be able to categorize the articles by themes, filter the information that's coming to your region, maybe so we can use just the location data that you have on your mobile application. And then you'll be able to include, we can also add other information that's pertinent to COVID, such as like cases and deaths in your region, but also globally. And then the option to, yes, the text-to-speech option. So as we, I think, identified earlier in some of the other teams have also mentioned that Somalis are prefer to hear or prefer oral communication forms, and so maybe a text-to-speech option would be helpful. And also seen as we're targeting older generation, maybe small screens, small text is text-to-speech would be useful. And then to automate to download from different government. Yes, okay, yes, that's another good point. This is again gov.uk, so it's a very UK-centric solution, and so the hope is maybe to expand this and make it not only translating in Somali, to have different languages to engage with other communities also, but then also the option to get official data from other countries, governmental organizations. So it wouldn't only be UK, for maybe any country in the Americas or across Europe, back in Africa, to be targeting data from there, and then to be translating that into Somali or into the requisite language. So I think that is all. Yes, that is the entirety of our presentation. We open it up to feedback and to questions, but thank you very much for your time, guys.
Wow, thanks so much to you guys of Team 3. And again, just the research on that alone, incredible stuff. So much effort actually into that. Thanks for talking us through that. Mohamed, do you know what? I didn't even give you your flowers. Tech legend Mohamed, ex-Microsoft, now startup founder, doing amazing stuff on the scene. Please share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them.
And thanks. And actually, I mean, misinformation is really like something that Somali community is well known for, whether it is just telling people to use Chincha and Lindonan or Malab so that they get cured from the COVID, or whether it's like a lot of different misinformation. So giving them access to the right information at the right time, and especially information that is coming from the government or from all the governments around the world, so that they better understand and how serious the disease is, how serious the COVID is. It's not something that only, the Galo Kuda'a is just it actually impacts everyone. So that alone is really why I think this project is really great. And actually a feedback I would like to kind of like share is that if Team 1 and Team 3 could work together, so that the translation bar as well as sharing that information with our people can be kind of like put together in a same platform where and our population can kind of like get the information that they need. And also another aspect about the project that's really interesting is integration with WhatsApp Facebook Messenger, as well as Telegram, because from what I have seen, our population is kind of like live in those platforms, whether it's Facebook, WhatsApp, and they usually get messages from there. From what I've seen, every tribe, every clan has their own WhatsApp. So that tells you that we kind of use WhatsApp as the medium for communication. So if that information can be kind of like integrated with WhatsApp and through automation, for example, if something comes from the government, directly sent to the WhatsApp, and giving our community ability to subscribe to those fields. So overall, I think the solution is great. The way you guys did the research and the implementation, and the fact that you have only one code for the web platform as well as and the mobile platform it kind of like increases decreases your time to go to live or to release that specific project. So overall, well done. I'm really looking forward to see this becoming something that the governments around the world use it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. I'm sure Team 3 have definitely heard them and appreciate them. Really, really great stuff so far. We are halfway through, at the halfway point. So moving swiftly on to Team 4. You ready, Team 4?
We are. So I'm just going to share my screen. Can you guys all see that?
Yep.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Mokhtar Adam, and we are TOD, Translation on Demand. As the pandemic continues to disproportionately affect Somalis and immigrants in the West, the need to address the challenges caused by the language barrier that they face is ever more important. And our solution here today is to disrupt the translation services industry, whereby we can provide an on-demand system to be able to book an interpreter. The team is made up of Abi, our project manager, and our very own Somali venture capitalist, myself, Mokhtar, Ibrahim, Noura, and Kaltoon. So what is the problem in the translation service industry that's impacting our people? Users of translation services industry are not able to choose their own translator. And they're more likely to have someone who doesn't speak their dialect or is of the opposite gender. This leads to communication issues and misunderstandings. There's a lack of quality monitoring, as users are unable to verify the experience of their translators and also unable to give feedback on the quality of service they have received. In addition, there is no easy way to connect the translators and the users that need their service. The market research we have done shows that there's an increasing immigration into the UK from non-English speaking countries, particularly places like Somalia, Iraq, Syria. And the problem is not going away. These individuals have a language barrier, which is causing them to have lower access to healthcare services and a dissatisfaction in the services they receive, resulting in feelings of alienation and misrepresentation, which we have seen in the disproportionate impact COVID has had on our own community. Studies on professional services in the healthcare sector have shown that there are real benefits. These benefits include improved quality of care, increased use of preventative measures such as COVID screening and cancer screening, and also increased patient satisfaction. So what is the market size? Does a market actually exist? And it does. The market is almost $40 billion in 2019. This is expected to grow at a rate of 2.1% in the next 7 years and will reach just over 46 billion in the year 2027. The competition is fragmented. It's not organized, and it's mainly dominated by agencies who are expensive and almost take 50% commission that translators are missing on. There isn't a simple, straightforward way to book a translator, and the solution is not customer-centric. So what is our solution? We are looking to give the power back to the user. The user will be able to choose a translator of their own preference, whether it's gender or dialect, therefore removing the barrier of communication. We'll be able to provide translators of the highest quality who are verified and vetted, and users can choose based on years of experience, a rating, and feedback from previous customers. The platform will be an easy, smooth way of connecting translators and users. What is our business model? Firstly, we'll be starting off with a free tier whereby volunteers can provide free translation services, and we'll be monetizing the platform through advertisements. In the later on stage, we'll be releasing a premium tier whereby we would be partnering with NHS trusts and local government organizations as an approved supplier. Therefore, translators will be able to set their own price, but at the same time, taking into account legal aid budget requirements. We will be charging a flat fee on every transaction, but competitive to existing agencies in the market. Our go-to-market strategy will be local and directed at the individuals that we want to target. So we will be using social media influencers and local TV stations whereby we can build trust and transparency with our target market. And now I'll hand over to Kaltoon, who will do a live demo.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna share my screen quickly. Okay, hey guys, my name is Kultoon and I'm really excited to be presenting a quick prototype of our product, Todd, Translation on Demand. This platform is both for translators and those who need translation services. We believed it was important for our app to be widely accessible, so there's an option for our entire application to be viewed in Somali. This would be further extended to encompass even more languages, but as for now, it would just be in Somali. However, today I'm going to be presenting a simple user journey to book an appointment and select our very own translator. So we can just click the sign up button. So a user would click on the sign up button, they would enter their full name, a password, an email address, and their very own phone number. They would then sign up. This is, demos never really go to plan. Once the user signed up, they would land on the booking page where they'd be able to book any kind of appointment. For example, we're going to do a GP appointment. Like that, they'd be able to choose the date that they want this appointment. Say I want it on Wednesday at 4 in the afternoon. I'd enter the phone number of my GP, the duration of this appointment, so it'd say it'd be about an hour. The language I'd like to be translated to, which would be Somali. And if I wanted even more choice, I'd be able to choose the dialect I would prefer the appointment to be translated to. However, that's not required. So I would go ahead and book my appointment. I would then have the opportunity to select from a number of interpreters who speak the language and dialect requested and are available during the appointment time I have already chosen. So we can browse through the translators here. We'll give the translators the option to provide the languages they speak, the dialects, and also their level of experience. However, going through all these translators, I think I'm going to choose this one. She looks like she knows what she's doing. Once I've booked my translator, it will then come up on my booking area and I'd be able to see my appointment and what time my appointment would be happening. So that is the demonstration of our application, and I'm going to be passing it on to Ibrahim, who will be talking about our architecture.
I'm going to take a few minutes here to run you through a quick demo of the architecture and the product roadmap. So I'm going to share my screen quick. Let me know if you do not see my screen. So let's see, let me get to presentation. So we are building our product so that it's simple to use, and so that we don't really get bogged down so much on the technology aspect, and so that we can focus more on actually building a product that provides superior service to our customers. So with that in mind, we decided to build our product on services provided by AWS out of the box. So for example, authentication, we're using AWS Cognito, and simply put in username, password, and it does the authentication for you. So I'm going to take you through a quick modeling here of the data flow. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about the services we're using. For our compute, we're using AWS Lambda, and for our database, we're using DynamoDB. For our notification service, we're using AWS SNS to send text, email, and regular phone notifications. S3 for file storage, and API gateway as our public endpoint. So once the user, the next thing is the user flow on the back end. So once the user gets authenticated, they get a key, and then the user uses that key along with whatever data to get access to the backend, and that goes into the API. The API runs the Lambda function, and then the Lambda function calls whatever service that the user wants to interact with. So if it's the database, it calls the database, and then the database responds to the Lambda function back to the API gateway, back to the user. And the process is the same for all the other services, as you can see. Now I'm going to move on to talking a little bit about our product roadmap. Let me switch over to this tab here. So a central question to our product is, there's already translation services out there. So what would make somebody like Dr. Samira turn over to our product and come and use our product when they already have agencies on the line? And the key factors in there is superior service and a superior product. So one of the things I've seen in my life is I was in a hospital room, and there was a translator, and they were translating a very complex, the doctor gave a complex explanation of the situation, and the translator just went and said, right? And so what we are bringing to the market is the ability to make sure that the translators, first of all, know what they're translating. So we're not going to send a translator to the hospital if they don't know any basic medical knowledge, if they don't have any basic medical knowledge. So we're going to have our translators go through basic medical training and get a certification. Once they have that certification, that training would ensure that they can communicate medical ideas and information in the Somali language as well as in the English language. And so the way we're approaching translation is we see the translator as an ambassador, as a diplomat, and their responsibility is to share information and make sure that these two people are on the same page, and not necessarily just take a word from this language and try to say it in this language, which oftentimes is very problematic. So I'm going to tell you now some of the key aspects in doing that. So in our MVP, we're going to have 24-hour translation service, translation line that's going to be available, so that if something happens at 3 a.m. or if it happens at 5 a.m. or 7 p.m., you always have somebody that you can talk to. And then we're also, with that, we'll have incident prioritization. So if an accident happens and somebody needs to have an emergency open heart surgery, we'll prioritize that to a checkup appointment. And then moving on to our first release, we have what we call our concept center. Our concept center is going to be a platform where there will be prepared explanations of concepts. So if there is, if a translator needs to explain something like chemotherapy to a patient, that is something that might be slightly too complex in that time frame, and so on and so forth. So we'll have a pre-prepared video that explains chemotherapy in Somali, and so as you can also infer, we're thinking for a solution for now but also goes way beyond now and into the future. I'm going to leave it there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Team 4 and Team 4, right? We are on Team 4. Yes, Team 4. Thank you so much for that. Really, really great idea. It's so weird being able to see myself like that. Gonna hand it over to Dr. Samira. What do you think? Like, how do you think this will empower people to actually take control of communication and their understanding, and how do you see it helping people like yourself in the field?
Dr. Samira, you're muted.
All right, okay. Sorry. So as I was saying, I think this app and the idea and the potential for it is great on many levels. And I think the bit that sticks out to me the most is the fact that the patient has control over who they choose, when they choose, and for what kind of appointment. It almost feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, a TripAdvisor version of apps, translators, and interpreters, which I think is always a great way. And as we probably all know in the market, for several different industries, I think customer choice and customer, the ease of accessibility of the customer being able to make that choice is what drives up satisfaction and improves overall experience and the outcomes anyway. Oftentimes with the NHS, it's you're stuck with what you have. Oftentimes patients don't have much of a choice when it comes to who they see as a GP or who they have as an interpreter. And that is one of the biggest complaints that I hear all the time, with patients being dissatisfied with their experience. So I think this goes a long way, just like you can choose the restaurant you want to go to based on the reviews and the feedback people have given. Being able to choose the right interpreter for you, I think, goes a long way. The other thing as well I really liked about your presentation in general is the fact that you really did do your research on the demand in the market, the stats, the potential for growth, and also in terms of the potential for increasing the sustainability through the financial and the monetary aspects, which is always great because there's tons of amazing ideas that fizzle out with time because there's no sustainability aspect incorporated. And I love the fact that this app has Somali language user interface as well, and not just English. And that I think makes common sense, but a lot of these apps directed at Somalis or service directed at Somalis don't have that. And the fact that the patient books themselves, it's really good. I think it's been a long time coming. The problem with the NHS, I think in more ways than one, is the patient often feels disempowered. They don't have the option to, like I say, choose the GP they want, the interpreter they want. But the fact that we're actually putting a bit of responsibility in the onus of the patient to book their own interpreter is something that I think will shock a lot of clinicians. I personally think is a great idea. I think it's about time people feel empowered, using the right resources and the tools to be able to make the decisions that's right for them, instead of us telling them what's good for them and forcing it down their throat. And I think the NHS needs to shift in that way eventually. I think a lot of it involves money, of course. So the fact that the patient's able to book their own interpreter based on the reviews, based on the ratings, based on the years of experience, based on the way they look, based on the whether she has hijab or not. And I know that's a big deal for a lot of Somalis because they judge a lot of how they take the information that's given to them by simply looking at you. If you look like somebody who makes sense to them and looks like you're mature or looks like deen tad ku xidhan tahay, a lot of the Somali elders will take it from you. If you say the same information, but you look a different type of subset, I think we all know that somewhat subconscious bias that even our elders have, sadly, but that is actually the way a lot of things operate. And I think that takes that into account as well. And the fact that you can choose the dialect, the gender, all of that, I think is a great idea. The one question I want to ask the team is, you mentioned competitive pricing. So is it fair for me to expect that the patient is expected to pay for the service? Is that how it works?
So if I may answer that question. So if the patient is eligible for legal aid, then it would mean that they would be able to get funded up to, I think, £28 per hour. Now, on average, agencies charge about 50% commission, which means the translator gets only half of that. The government pays the full £28. The patient never pays anything. But the issue you've got is the translator is missing out on half of their potential earnings. If the patient was not eligible for legal aid and they had to pay the translation services themselves, then we would allow the translator to set their own competitive prices so that they can get customers. And essentially the target market would be, students and young Somalis who can, who are able to speak the language and would want to provide this service on the side, on the weekends, on the evenings, maybe even during lunchtime, if they can jump on the phone for 1 hour and earn themselves, the £8, £10, £15.
All right. Okay. So that sounds like a great idea. I think allowing more people in the community, especially people who are passionate about healthcare and improving accessibility, which I'm sure there's tons of, I come across them all the time on social media, to be able to play a small role and contribute to it is a great idea. But the fact that you also mentioned that you'd make sure that the translators have some basic medical knowledge. I can imagine that would be a little bit challenging, but I know that at the moment, a lot of interpreting agencies, particularly the ones we use, have to go through some level of training before they're even allowed to sign up with an agency. I'm not really sure what that training involves. I suspect it's more to do with the language aspects of things and reading body language and translating words and metaphors rather than the actual medical knowledge. I think they have to go through that anyway as a standard, but if you're adding basic medical knowledge and the concept of some things as simple as cells, sometimes even trying to go back to basics and explain how a cell works, to be able to explain how to take the insulin or how diabetes works is really important. So I think that is a huge plus as part of this app and this service. And in general, I think the fact that they're able to just get it across on their phone, they're able to have an option to read it in Somali, maybe even the app speaking back at them, because as we all know, there's some elders in our community who speak fantastic Somali but cannot read it. And the fact that they're able to choose who they want and maybe even build a relationship and a rapport with a particular group of translators who'll be able to see them through their entire journey. It also builds up a fact that that particular translator who's been translating or interpreting for that Habariyat all these years will remember her medical history and conditions. And it almost feels like her own daughter is translating for her, interpreting for her, because you have that background memory, because you've interpreted for her for so long. And I think that's a huge potential and probably a game changer for the interpreting aspect of things when it comes to Somalis and the patient consultations in general, and can be used, as previously mentioned, across all settings, mashallah. So I think you guys have done a great job. It's a great idea. Definitely needs to be built on further. And I'm keen to see where you guys take it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the feedback.
Wow. I feel like we were in Dragon's Den, honestly. Like, that was an oven-baked pitch that was ready to go. Like, well done, Team 4. That was incredible stuff. Just even the financial research that went into that, like that, such a scalable solution, quite clearly. Penultimate team, a word that I've been trying to use all week. Penultimate team, Team 5. Team 5, you ready to go?
Yeah. Hi everyone, it's Qadra here. I'm happy to introduce you to Team 5, aka Quarantine, aka Dream Team Supreme. In our team, we have 6 people. So we have 4 tech pros, Amal, Kareem, Omar and Connor, and then 2 community organisers, myself and Hanad. So what is our product? Our product is a platform called the Camden Point. I see most teams have focused on solutions to battle COVID-19 within the medical field. Our mission is to alleviate the wider impacts of COVID-19. Specifically, we want to help to alleviate food poverty amongst the Somali community in Camden, as well as fight social isolation by giving local volunteers a platform to connect with fellow residents that might be isolated. I'll now pass on to my esteemed colleague Hanad, who will give you a little bit more of a background to the problem that we're trying to tackle. Over to you, Hanad.
Thank you, Qadra. As Qadra mentioned, our mission is to alleviate food poverty and to help tackle social isolation. And the story of the crisis has shown the real cost of an unequal society and economy, but also the power of communities and the ability to lead change. And using tech to be quite a creative platform to innovate is something I've been really relishing to be involved in. As previous speakers have mentioned, that this pandemic has a disproportionate impact on Black, Asian and other ethnic communities, particularly our own community. So we're taking a really hyper-localized approach here, focusing on one geographic area, which allows us to tailor our approach to give the areas and population that we live in. And Camden has a significant Somali population. We're also fortunate to have a number of our colleagues who actually live in the borough to give that user experience and the added benefit to this project. But while some residents have access to the people and information, we know that others don't and are often left behind and feel a great deal of powerlessness. So while focus heavily on participation engagement, because we know that giving residents more power can have a big impact on their lives. If I just move over to the second slide, there is a real perception that London Borough of Camden is an affluent and well-off borough. However, this masks significant pockets of deprivation and poverty. And just to share a few stats, Camden has the largest uptake of universal credit in London with 42% increase and the second largest increase in claimants of unemployment amongst all London boroughs. There's also been an 89% increase in need seen by the Trussell Trust Food Bank nationally, and that 30% of all Camden pupils were eligible for free school meals, so that's equivalent to 6,855 students. I know we discussed doing market research, but as a team, we went one step further and provided a real life case study. So on Tuesday, which I think a lot of you may have been aware of, MPs rejected plans to extend free school meals into the school holidays. And it's clear that extra provision is needed because the coronavirus crisis is leading to a surge in economic insecurity, with unemployment expected to spike dramatically in the coming months as a second wave of this disease hits. And there was a real fight against time to ensure that no Camden child goes hungry this half term. And we had to reach to more than 6,000 students ahead of schools closing. And as you can see from the retweet from Marcus Rashford, we were successful in achieving that. However, providing food vouchers, we know that there's a real accessibility issues here, and that not all of our communities are able to benefit from this scheme. I will now hand over to Amal, who will speak about the solutions.
Hi guys, so I'm the team lead. I was working and came up with the name, so I'll take that credit. But yeah, so much like what Khadra was saying, our solution is more of the combating the after effects of COVID, and the aim is to use this app called Camden Points as it's a proof of concept. The idea is that we can Camden Point is going to be a search engine and that provides localized a directory of the local services using a data API. So the point is that someone just logs in, enters their postcode, and then once they enter their postcode, it connects them to all the local food banks in their area. And then likewise, if somebody wants to volunteer, they can actually put in their postcode, and then it connects them also to the local food banks in the area. The proof of concept, what I meant to say, the food banks, it can be extended to just not just food banks. We use food banks of now as an example, but it could be extended as to people being finding local services, especially for COVID responses. So it could be like test areas for volunteers. They could also come in and volunteer in those test areas. So the special thing with this search engine, it actually returns the results of the area, and it shows them in a map. And also it shows if the person wants to check based on what they want to volunteer as. For us, we use the 3 options as saying a driver or an admin assistant or a fundraiser. It will show them a result to show which food banks needs that. So it would either say a tick, so this food bank will need a certain volunteer for a driver, and then this one will say cross, no, we don't really need a volunteer. So it's very much connecting the people to their communities and donating their time. So yes, so the food bank is a proof of concept, and we're hoping to expand on it. I was going to mention the sort of scalability of this actual product. So the idea what we had as well is, if you bear with me. I was ready, and then when it came to the actual speaking part. Okay, so sort of the scalability that we want to do is there is two options for volunteering. There's the option to volunteer or donate, and donation, it gives you the option to donate onto any food banks that you want, and then it will also show you a result of what the food banks need. So for to extend on that, we can sort of also do this thing where we can have areas that sort of the people need test areas, and who's a volunteer if they need a volunteer who's a pharmacist, an ambulance, telephone agent, all the local services in the Camden area. So this could be expanded to any area, but the proof of concept is food banks to help with that issue. So yeah, if we can have a demo, so we're just going to pass you over to the two main guys, which is Connor and Karim, which show your demo.
Yeah, hello. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, so like Amal mentioned, our minimal viable product was to make a search engine that would connect to a food bank API. And from that, users will be able to search for food banks that are close to them. And also volunteers will be able to see food banks that are close to them that they can volunteer for. So with that in mind, we thought, since we only had 2 days to create this, that we would use Ruby on Rails as our framework, as that allows really nice calling to APIs, and the writing of pages can be done quite nice and quickly. With our front end, we went with Bootstrap and JavaScript to give a sleek interface for users who might not be well versed with internet, and just a great experience. We do also have a database layer of Postgres, but for now we haven't really tapped into that. That could be something that we do once we scale further. So the first thing you'll see when you go onto the site is a help desk. So for users who don't want to faff around with the site, who might not be that tech literate, as Team 1 mentioned, though there is a concern with that in our community, they can just call the help desk and speak to someone in their own language who will take them through the site. Down below, again, keeping the sleek interface, is two options. You can either go to a food bank or volunteer or donate something, which I'll get into later on. I'll first show the food bank bit. So as you can see, there's two separate bits here. We've got the search engine at the top. That was our minimal viable product, but we've also extended it to show a map that is currently fixed on the Camden area, showing you food banks that are in the area and giving their phone number and address. So if you don't want to mess about with the search engine, just go there, give them a call, and they can talk to you. But let's say we do want to do a search. So let's say I want to do a search in the Camden area. You'll see that from the ones closest to you, it's ranked from the closest ones to the ones that are furthest away from you, and it's giving you specific information for each food bank. For example, their phone number, and also a link to that food bank that you can go to further see what they can offer you, and also a link to a Google Maps link to the address that you can then use for directions to that place. The cool thing about this search engine that I would like to demo is that it's scalable. It doesn't just focus on Camden. So if I do somewhere really random in Birmingham, the city centre, you'll see that the update shows that the food banks here are listed for Birmingham, and they have the same fields, and also the map API also scales for that. So it shows the food banks in Birmingham. And we do store this in the session. So if you want to share this with someone, you can. And also if you want to come back after a session to see the food banks that you were searching up, you can also do that. The second feature I'd like to show is the volunteer. So here we've currently, with our proof of concept, have went with 3 separate pathways. So you can become a driver, an admin, or a fundraiser. Again, relying on that search engine. If I do a search for Camden, it will show you the same table, if I scroll down, and also 3 specific columns for each pathway. And if that food bank is wanting volunteers for that pathway, the thing here is that the food bank API does not offer this. So this is a proof of concept, but with funding and further research, we will be able to get in contact with them and the specific food banks for that. Over here, there's also the map that will display those volunteer opportunities. The third feature is the donate button. So let's say you don't want to volunteer your expertise. You want to donate actual goods to a food bank. If I do the search, you'll see instead of having a map, there's this right panel over here that is alongside the food bank. Over here, you can click on the food bank row and for a specific food bank, see the items that you can donate that they have specifically requested as items that they need for their food bank. And this is also a proof of concept. The idea here is that once you check these up, that you can donate them by passing this separate grocery API. Okay, I'll be real quick. That's our three main features. We do have a FAQ where you can further understand why we need food banks, what the deal is, and further go into certain questions that you might have. We've also got this a proof of concept for COVID response in the area of Camden that we could also scale later on to different areas. And that would be like a dashboard that would contain information for people who want to go to a food bank, but might need to take precautions because of COVID. And for volunteers who likewise would like to know about how COVID is in their area. Yeah, that's the demo.
Incredible. Incredible stuff. Thank you so much for that, Team 5. Super relevant and awesome diverse solution compared to like just some of what we've had today. It's a definitely a nice opportunity to just go down another road and another issue that's very relevant right now, just purely from the effects of COVID. So great perspective. Mohamed, would you like to share some thoughts on that? It was such a great demo as well. I'm sure you have a lot to say.
Definitely. This is really well done, and it's actually a great idea. It's just that we all know that a lot of people do not have the basic needs, the basic stuff that they need, the food and so on. And majority of them actually might not actually know where to get those food, how to get them, how to access them, and giving them a platform where could they actually find their nearest food bank or where they can get a help. That is really amazing. And the market research is also, there was a lot of information that I didn't, that I wasn't aware of. Like, Camden to me is like the tech center in London, and those numbers kind of like scary, to be honest. The majority of the people living in Camden do not have access to big tech companies like Facebook, Google, and so on, and they are kind of struggling to get the necessary stuff that they need, food and so on. And as I said, the idea is really amazing, and yeah. So just a couple of questions around, actually more like understanding how the system works. When you guys, for example, where do you guys get the data? Is it does the data come from the government? How accurate is that data?
Yeah, so that data comes from a open source API called Give Food API, and that's free for anyone to see. And it's sorry.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this has it's a JSON file, a JSON API, and you can search. You've got different types of searches too. You can do a food bank search, and it also provides all the data points for the UK. And that's what we use. We use that. And the great thing about Ruby is that we can store these data in very not really impactful data sets. And so going to the site doesn't take long. Going to the food bank, which is loading up all of that data, takes a few seconds. I was surprised when I went on Heroku and it was working so fast because I'm using a free version of it.
I was going to say, sorry, Mohamed. I was just going to add towards what Karim was saying, that it doesn't just have to, this is just an example using just food banks, so it could be used for anything. It's the idea that we can use the APIs to search on what we need the most. So if it's COVID related and people sort of don't have the care packages they need, sort of, hand sanitizers, face masks, not everything is provided to everyone. So they can actually find local areas that they can, people can provide this. And all they got to do is just search based on their postcode. So there's a lot of potential and a lot of scalability for this website, at least.
Thanks, Emma. You have actually answered my second question, which is how would the user know what kind of and food or necessity is available in a food bank. And thanks for your answer. That's really amazing. I mean, as I said, the project, the technology, and let me talk about the technology. The fact that you guys using Postgres probably in PostGIS to actually map the food centers and also have that search engine built in within the website, and that data API will also give you an ability to create a mobile application easily from that data feed. And all those put together is really an amazing, amazing work. And well done, guys, and really, really appreciate. Just one more suggestion is that it would be great if you can, for example, repopulate the search, for example, using users' location, then repopulate that search result so that they can see, without actually doing the search, they can see the closest food banks to them.
I think Karim, if I'm right, is it that they do have it saves it's cached, so then the person, when they return back onto the site, it will just have the list of food banks they already searched for, so it will save the search result. They don't have to continuously do. If that answers your question.
Kind of, but it was kind of like coming the first time. For example, if user comes to that specific website first time that they don't have any cache built in, then it will be great if the system can actually help them, because we know some of those people might not be actually thinking, right, they might not have eaten for almost like half a day or so, and they might not, any help that they can get, that would be great. So if repopulating the results will kind of help them in a way.
With the map,
hey guys,
populates it. Like, so when you first go onto it, we have the proof of concept of Camden. So when the user goes onto the website, they'll see on the map the different points that they can just see. We thought that that's an easier way of displaying it instead of just having the table there. But we do hear your claim.
Hey guys, thank you so much. That honestly, we would really want to hear more. And I really wish we had a lot more time for feedback and comments and stuff. We could even do an entire event about it, definitely sometime, and get a bit more content out regarding feedback. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry to cut you guys short. We do have one more team to go. So team 6, if you don't mind just finishing our presentations off. We're super excited to hear what you got lined up. Well done, team 5. So sorry I didn't say that. Well done.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. If you give me a moment, I'll quickly just set this up. Okay. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Harun. I'll be presenting the first half of this presentation for you. I hope you guys enjoy. And let's get started. So, who are we? We are Afimad Direct, bringing Afimad to your virtual doorstep. We aim to shatter many preconceived notions of healthcare through the use of technology. Here are some of the sections we'll be going through our presentation today. And let's go through the problem. So the problem we discovered over the last few days is misinformation or lack of correct information in our communities, which leads to an increase in social stigma, especially with COVID-19. The problem with this is we have many consequences result from an increase in social stigma of COVID-19, such as alienation of those affected in our communities, reluctancy to ask for help or seek professional advice, and even feelings of shame, guilt, hopelessness, and desperation from those most affected in our communities. So the solution we came up with is to provide a platform that allows you to anonymously chat and receive vital information about COVID-19. The benefit of our solution is that it's supported in both Somali and English and allows you to anonymously communicate. And at any point, you're able to be redirected to one of our healthcare professionals real time. Finally, you'll always be able to gain quick and useful information no matter where you are or what time of the day it is. So if we jump into some market analysis, the market for chatbots is set to increase by about 30.9% 30.9% annually due to the wide range of industries currently adopting the technology. Some of the biggest companies that we know are implementing or have implemented virtual assistant AIs are Apple with their Siri products, Google with Google Assistant, and Amazon with their Alexa products. As you can see below, here's the market size of the chatbots. From 2018 to 2019, this market size has more than doubled and is projected to hit $9.4 billion by 2024. So clearly we know that chatbots are increasing in popularity, especially in the healthcare sector, which is notoriously known for its long response times. Whether you're calling for an appointment, you have to wait a while before you can go to your appointment. Whether you have a concern with any of your mental or physical health, you have to wait a while before any of your GPs or any NHS workers are able to respond to you. So chatbots are able to mitigate that slow response time. And we know that they are becoming even more powerful, able to be integrated with some of the biggest social media platforms such as Facebook, Kik, WhatsApp, and even more. And these are some of the biggest platforms in the Somali community. Below, you can see there are some facts and figures about the internet use and social media use back at home. 8% of the population currently has connection to the internet. 41% of the population has a mobile phone, and that's increasing. And 1.2 million Somalis are active on Facebook daily, and that will definitely increase. So we did some user research. Our solution, we wanted it to be tailored for the Somali community as a whole, globally. However, for this hackathon, we decided to stick to the Somali UK community. Our first order of business was to understand our target audience and see whether our current solution meets their needs and wants. Thankfully, we gained great insight into our audience's values and desires. This has truly helped us improve our product vision and direction, as well as validate our solution. At the end of the day, from the survey results that we have found, that there's clearly an issue with misinformation to do with COVID-19 in our community, or lack of correct information of COVID-19 in our communities. And a viable solution to this issue would be extremely valuable and needed. As you can see below, here are some key figures and results we got from our survey. 42.5% of people believe there is misinformation in our community to do with COVID-19. 47.5% of people would like to chat with a healthcare professional anonymously at any point. And 37.5% of people believe there is a language barrier with the Somali community when trying to access vital COVID-19 information. So I'll show you guys a video we made of our demo for our product. I hope you guys, if you guys could let me know if you could hear this. I'm pretty sure you should be able to hear this. But other than that, let's go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Khadija, and I'll be taking you through a short demo of our application. So when you first navigate to our website, Afima Direct, you'll be greeted with our landing page, which gives some basic information on our service. Our main feature is our AI chatbot, which users can interact with. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Khadija, and I'll be taking you through a short demo of our application. So when you first navigate to our website, Afima Direct, you'll be greeted with our landing page, which gives some basic information on our service. Our main feature is our AI chatbot, which users can interact with by saying, hi. We built two main flows of conversation here, which is the coronavirus guidelines and symptom checker. If I run through, users will be asked if they want to know about how to stay safe or local alerts in their area. And here they'll be given some basic information and links to external websites for more information. If we go through the symptom checker, users will be asked if they have any of the following symptoms of coronavirus. If they do, they'll be advised to quarantine for 10 days and given the option to book a test or speak to our Afima Direct healthcare professional. If they do not and have other flu-like symptoms, they will still get the option to speak to our Afima Direct professional. However, they will be reassured that they likely have common flu-like symptoms. Now, if I click on here, I'll be able to connect to Haifa, who is our team member in the back end, and the interaction is now with a human being. We've also created this in Somali, which we will demonstrate now.
Right, I think we lost the sound for a moment for some of the video.
For some of the video. Okay. How much time do we have left?
Ooh. Abshir, you still watching the time?
Huh? Yes. 1 minute left.
Okay. As you can see here on the left, there is a screenshot which verifies that we can actually do mobile text messaging SMS. So even those without internet connection can still communicate with our chatbot and get vital information about COVID-19. Okay, handing it over to Hiba.
Thanks, Harun. Hi everyone, I'm Hiba and I'll be taking over the presentation, starting with a little breakdown as to how we built what you just saw. So our tech stack was pretty simple, as you can see. We used Flow AI, a visual bot platform that enabled us to design and create our AI chatbot. Flow AI actually has built-in functionality to translate your chatbot to other languages, and this is how we were able to implement a simple chatbot in both English and Somali. We also use React, which is a front-end JavaScript framework, to create our one-page website. And we used a simple HTML script tag to actually integrate the chatbot into our website. So it was really quick and easy. And once we created our website and implemented the chatbot onto our website, it was deployed online using Surge, a cloud platform for hosting static websites, which was super simple and effortless. And finally, Twilio was a key tool in enabling us to connect our chatbot with SMS messaging and allowing us to text a number to interact with our chatbot. Next slide, please. Next, I'd like to take you through our future vision for Afimad Direct. Yeah, thank you. We only had 2 days to demo this initial product, but this is by no means all we have to offer. We have a number of ideas for the future of Afimad Direct, including but not limited to the following. Firstly, we'd like to add audio and video functionality to increase the ease of communication, particularly for very older users who might find it difficult to text. We'd like to integrate with social media chat platforms such as WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. These platforms are widely used amongst the Somali community and particularly the older Somali community. So we feel this will enable us to reach as many potential users as possible and make Afimad Direct as widely accessible as we can. In a similar vein, we'd like to utilize marketing to get the word out there and reach those who may benefit from our product. And we'd like to continue to train and develop our chatbot to improve the accuracy of responses, particularly when responding and communicating in Somali. We'd like to continue to develop the website, and we'd also like to provide weekly content on Somali-based mental, physical, or spiritual health. This could be in the form of a newsletter or a blog to continue to widen access to healthcare information in different formats and different ways. Finally, we'd like to get multiple healthcare specialists to be able to provide more healthcare services, such as mental health specialists and other healthcare professionals. Next slide, please. Lastly, I'd like to end by shouting out the faces of the product and the people who helped put this together. Haifa, Khadija, Ikra, and Abdul did an amazing job on the chatbot and learning how to use new technologies. Kania was amazing for her help on the user research, and Safi and Harun were our design whizzes who designed the website, logo, and pitch deck that we are presenting on today. This was truly a team effort, and I want to personally thank all of you guys for your hard work and your enthusiasm. You should all be super proud of yourselves. And that's all. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope you can help us to realize a future where access to healthcare is as simple as sending a text.
That is incredible. So blown away just by the quality of solutions. Everyone is so complimentary. I'd advise every team and just sales team 6 to look at the comments that everyone said. Give yourselves a big pat on the back. It's incredible work. Handing it very quickly over to Dr. Samira, I believe.
Mashallah, wow, where do I begin? Honestly, I'm blown away. I think it was fantastic on so many levels. Again, the fact that you put this together in 48 hours is impressive, mashallah. I love the idea of an anonymous, accessible chat feature, because that is precisely, I think, where a lot of people fall through the cracks. So being able to produce such a product, I think, will help far more people than we anticipate, because there's a lot of people who don't even present to healthcare professionals or healthcare settings, as we already know, because of various reasons. And while we're tackling those health inequalities and misinformation, mistrust, it's important to have a service where they're able to access help at the comfort of their homes, and knowing that they're not going to have the associated stigma that you rightly described. Apparently, coronavirus now is almost akin to having a mental health condition or any of the other taboos that we have in the Somali community. So while we're fighting that, it's important that people have an avenue for access to healthcare information and healthcare professionals. So I think that's a fantastic solution. And the fact that you actually have access to healthcare professionals and healthcare professionals who can speak to you in Somali. Sometimes I find that being able to type these questions and the responses actually goes to form more effective communication, because you cut out all the noise and people stopping you mid-sentence. And sometimes I find that for those who are able to either write in Somali or being able to use the text to audio functionality, it really structures the communication. And if they're able to save it and look back at it 3 days later, or for example, if that elderly Somali lady forgot what you just discussed with her, and her daughter is able to access this conversation that's all been typed out, later on, it'll be able to make the information that's relayed more accessible, I suspect. I really liked your market research and the survey, where you try to garner and gather the information by asking Somalis directly and using that to inform the product that you've designed. The website is slick, simple, beautiful interface that is very easy to use. And somebody whose IT background is non-existent like myself, I felt like I would be able to use that website, and I think I would be more inclined to. It's something that draws you. It's something that makes it look like it's not intimidating and very challenging to be able to access. So for somebody who's non-IT like me, I think it's great. I like the fact that you had a familiar sounding Somali voice who's saying salam alaikum to you and welcoming you onto that website. I think is a fantastic touch. I like the structured but general and relevant. So I like the structure of the branches every time you ask a question, the symptom checker, the coronavirus guidelines, and then within each option, there's branches within it that makes it simple and cuts out the rest of the noise. And the fact that you're providing general information like washing hands and covering your face and local stats is really important, because reiterating that information is key in this current climate, even though that may not be the question they're asking. Revisiting and reminding them that information is key health information provision. And I think it's a really important aspect. I like the mobile option, the fact that you're able to link it to SMS chats, which is very familiar interface for a lot of the elderly people who may find it intimidating to use an internet website. And I really like the vision you have for it, mashallah. It's amazing that you want to build more on the video and audio functionality, which I think is a key aspect. It's amazing that you actually want to develop this into a resource and a hub where you're providing weekly content. And the fact that you mentioned physical, mental, and spiritual health, I really think you hit the nail on the head there, because it is the interface of those three that really make up the Somali health experience, to be honest with you. And you cannot take deen and spirituality and mental health out of there. The fact that we're able to discuss these information, these issues on a website, I think will only go to improve general health information, but also improve accessibility to health, mashallah. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do with this. I hope it doesn't end with the hackathon. I really am excited to see how you guys develop this further. I think there's a place for it, a role for it, a market for it. And excellent work is all I can say. Well done, guys.
Well done, Team 6. It really did look amazing and slick. I think slick was the main word that come out of all the comments about your solution. We made it to the end of all the presentations, mashallah. Like, it's incredible what we've witnessed tonight. We've run over, but what a sweet 8 minutes to run over, just from seeing the incredible solutions to have come from our committed and dedicated participants. firstly, thank you so much to all the participants. Secondly, thank you to team leaders. And thirdly, thank you to the panelists. But we're not done just yet. We've got a few more minutes to go before we wrap up. And this is where we'll leave it to the audience to vote for their favorite. Again, really thankful that it's not just us voting, because I don't know how I'd be able to handle it. But we have a solid list of watchers on our YouTube live stream. So, and they've been consistent throughout, as well as the folks who are joining us via Zoom. So I'm really excited to kind of see what the votes. So the votes are actually open right now. We have sent the link both in Zoom and YouTube. So please get onto Slido, vote for your favorite. We're going to give you a couple minutes to vote for your favorite. I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited to see what everyone thinks. I heard someone said, I heard Russia is influencing the votes. Just saying. Yeah. So yeah, incredible. Let's give you guys a couple minutes to get those votes in, and then we will announce the favorite. But just want to say, disclaimer, everyone was incredible. All the ideas were incredible, and I think safe to say absolutely everybody is so impressed, so impressed. So everybody deserves a big up, and definitely pat yourselves on the back and get some sleep after this. Please get some sleep. I got them 3 a.m. pings from everybody just chatting away, and I just couldn't believe it. Lucky them, we had an additional hour to the day, so you guys are really, I bet, thankful for the additional hour. Already got 44 votes in. That's incredible. Let's give it another minute. 48. That jumped up really quickly. We're on 50 votes. 53. Do you know what? Maybe 50 of these are just Abshir voting for everyone, because he just probably wants everyone to get their flowers.
Guilty as charged.
60 votes now. Woo! Let me know when you want to close that, the vote option.
We'll give it until 13 past. How about that?
All right, and you've got an additional 2 minutes to go for that. Less than 2 minutes. 69 votes. 72. Wow. Just the comments as well going along with the votes is hilarious. Just to see, also seeing the love in the comments, I really recommend the teams hop onto the YouTube live stream and just see the wonderful comments coming from people. Everyone is just ridiculously impressed. And I will also say we say 48 hours, it was less than 48 hours really. So big up to you guys on that as well. $15 seconds to go. Are we going to get to 100 votes? We're on 97. 98. Got to 100 votes right on time. Okay, I believe the votes will be closed, right, Abshir?
Votes are now closed.
Amazing. Closed at 105, a nice number. I don't even know what it's saying, you know.
Hi.
How do I open the votes?
View. Oh, there we go. Click on view votes.
Numbers of view votes.
Oh, we got a clear winner.
Oh, yes, I can see that. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'll do a top 3. Oh, there's a joint top 2, actually, yeah. So there's a joint top 2. That is team 2 and team 4. And then you got team 6 who have hit the #1 spot. So congratulations, team 6. That's incredible. Amazing, amazing work. Big up, big up, big up. Virtual claps, virtual claps.
Direct.
Yeah, Afrimad Direct. Absolutely did well, so well. But you know, I purposely didn't vote because I can't vote. I'm not gonna lie, like respect to you guys, like that was really difficult. But amazing stuff. Thank you once again so much for your commitment, your dedication, to the participants who have committed so much time to this, and we really are excited to see what comes of this as well, whether we see further development or even just the connections alone that have been built from the hackathon. Thank you so much to our team leaders who have been awesome at leading these teams, making sure that they keep time, assigning responsibilities, and even meeting up with us prior to the event. I'd like to also thank our incredible panelists, Mohamed, Ainab and Dr. Samira Hassan. Thank you so much for your comments. We would actually really love to follow up to gain more comments to the teams and provide them with more of your expertise and thoughts. Thank you so much to the Somalis in Tech team. Team's been working day and night on this. We've been speaking about this for weeks, but I don't think we could have predicted how amazing this has gone. And it truly is the energy of the community that has made it what it is. This has really set us up. What a great way to start. Cannot wait to see how our hackathons continue to evolve. And I do want to just take a minute to say, hackathons isn't those who are only for those who are technically skilled. Our participants are made up of people from so many different backgrounds, even those who are not part of tech at all, or those who exhibit any kind of tech skills. We have product people, we have designers, we have people who deal with concepts, we have people who are still students and are studying various things that you wouldn't even associate with what we've been speaking about today. So big up to absolutely everybody, and I hope people continue to get involved in our upcoming hackathons and our events, inshallah. Any last words, guys, before we wrap up?
I'm just going to say, mashallah, I honestly am super impressed with what everybody brought to the table, all the ideas and solutions you have. I think it just goes to show that if you really apply yourselves, we really have an amazing abundance of talent within our own community, and we're better able to understand our needs and better able to access that inner and vulnerable thoughts that people like our elderly, our young children, and our mothers have, mashallah. And it just goes to show that if you give our young Somali talent the platform to shine, we outshine and go all the way to the universe. So I'm really proud of you guys, mashallah. And I really hope you guys follow up on this. I know this was for this competition, the hackathon, but some of all the solutions you guys produced, I think have amazing potential. And like I said earlier, I'm happy to follow this up with any of you, happy to give my time and support this, because I just think there's so much potential to breaking the stereotype, changing the narrative, and improving access to healthcare for our own, inshallah. Well done, guys.
Mohamed, any lasting comments?
Of course, yes, and definitely. It's been really great night, a lot of good solutions, good technical capabilities. I mean, a lot of the things that people did in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and mapping, and all those are kind of like the tech that Somali and community need as well. And whether it's like the food bank or the NHS or anywhere, it's just like, it's one of those things that as a society we need to learn and be better at. Another thing that I would like to mention is so many girls are here today. I've never ever thought that I'm going to see a lot of girls enjoying tech, working on technology, providing or coming up with those solutions. It's great to see that. I mean, I remember like about 5-6 years ago, in every company I went to, if I see a Somali, it would just be a Somali guy. Never ever a Somali woman doing a STEM and working on a STEM, especially on engineering, especially on technology. And it's good to see so many of them tonight in here. And well done, all of you.
Thank you so much. Diversity is so, so important to us. I'm sure the guys of the team will echo this as well. It's so, so important to us. So we actually didn't even have that much impact on those who signed up as participants. So it's incredible to see just what our community is made up of, without us making that so much of an additional effort on top of that. So Somali women, you showed up and you killed it. Somali Excellence hashtag is glowing right now just from what we've seen today. So thank you so much, everybody. And once again, thank you for staying with us, even though we've run out over time. We were just talking about so much amazing stuff and solutions, and just a great chat all around. So I think that we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good evening, have a good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, because we've got a global audience. And keep an eye out for what's coming next in Somalis in Tech. Our online community is coming, so please keep an eye out for our online community so these conversations can continue. I'd also like to say a big up to Idol, who's been running our social media and killing it with the gifts as well. I've been loving the gifts on our social. So please, everybody, give her a big up. She volunteered for the role and has done an incredible job. So thank you so much, everybody, and take care.
And the final shout out to Fires Off. Great facilitation. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye.